Well, continuing our series looking at the Chamber of Commerce in Suffolk the last 140 years, Chamber 140, C140 we've called it. It's a big sort of enterprise looking at the celebrations, more than celebrations of the history of the Chamber. And over the last 20, 30 years, if you say Suffolk Chamber of Commerce, one name comes up time after time after time. Look, he's sitting opposite me now. Bob Feltwell, hello. It's true, isn't it? You've got Chamber through and through.
Yes, it was my life for 16 years,
Yep.
and I enjoyed every minute of it. It's a 24/7 job.
It is.
And it was just, every day was different, and wherever I was in the world, it was always the Chamber came first.
It's taken you on some exciting journeys. We'll talk about that later. But Chief Executive of the Chamber from 1990, what was it like when you started? Because look at today's Chamber now in a fabulous new building, all these hundreds of people. It wasn't that big to start with.
No, it was a few people, a retired gentleman on business information, a retired chap on international trade,
Yep.
a lot of enthusiastic business people who wanted to see more international activity, and a bottom line of either plus or minus £200 was the financial position of the Chamber. So I was recruited by an agency in Norwich, of all places, and they interviewed me, and it went on from there. And I didn't realise until later that the Chamber was sort of borderline, will it survive or won't it? So I brought a sort of business thinking to it.
So you were headhunted, pretty shrewd headhunters to see the potential that you had. So they must have been keen. They must have been looking at what you were doing. Okay, day one, how do you start then? You come in, you're thinking, this isn't as financially viable as I thought. You've got to turn it around straight away.
Yes, we used to do a lot on export documents. We had an excellent team doing that, one lady on accounts, and that was about it really. So the Suffolk International Trade Group wanted to see the Chamber taking business people overseas to develop the Suffolk economy through exports. And they were, if you like, the catalyst for getting everything done. I discovered the government at that time were helping businesses. So if we organised a trade mission, we could take, say, 30 people, put them up in a top quality hotel somewhere in the Far East, get them a reception at the British High Commission or British Embassy, and they could take business people locally and develop trade that way. And that turned out to be very popular, not only for business, but also for some of the schools and colleges in Suffolk and beyond, who were able to recruit people to bring their children to the UK, which in fact is a good export business.
Right back then, I mean, nowadays it's okay. There's a lot of international trade as well. But nowadays a lot of focus on local stuff. But what you were doing was groundbreaking, wasn't it? You were going out there. I mean, you say it's a chamber. You were almost representing the UK, weren't you?
We were, yes. The idea of a trade mission was to promote UK businesses, and it's something that we did with pride, because if you had a reception at an embassy in Bangkok or Seoul in South Korea, the locals were pleased to come along because we were talking about business exclusively. I always believe that getting people to buy British and so on helps the country as well. I remember being in part of Borneo on a trade mission, and we sat down with 5 business people from local and about a dozen Suffolk people. And the topic of conversation for the first meeting was the quality of fish and chips at all the British universities that these people had been to. Yeah. So they had a soft spot for Britain and were therefore more likely to do business with us in the future.
Now, I did loads of trips, and the first few must have been really exciting and wonderful. But after a while, I mean, all those glorious hotels, all those trips, that was hard work, wasn't it? The first few, okay, a bit of a jolly, but it wasn't a jolly. It was non-stop business, wasn't it, you were doing there?
It was, yes. We used to leave on a Saturday, arrive there on a Sunday because of the time difference. And you try and stay awake for Monday morning, 7:30 for a briefing at the relevant embassy. And then you're looking after the people for the whole week, and you fly out on Friday night, arrive back in breakfast on Saturday, have a fragile day, and you start work again on Monday. If you're a civil servant, of course, you have several days off at least to recover from the time difference. But business is not like that. Business is continuous.
Talk me through some of the trips you've been on, some of the most memorable ones, because I've spoken to you before, and you have travelled, and I want to know some of the best places you've been and some of the deals you've managed to secure through going with the Chamber overseas.
Well, in Malaysia, the Malaysian government banned trade with Britain just as we were leaving Heathrow Airport, and so we had a lot of media attention for that week and the following week in Singapore. But the Malaysian business people said, well, if you use the side door, if you don't sign the visitor's book, we'll do business with you. Just keep it quiet. So I was able to go to a Rotary meeting every day in Kuala Lumpur. The locals would tell me what was going on, and then I'd do a BBC breakfast broadcast at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But I would stress this is before the internet.
I was going to say technology then. There wasn't much technology, was there? I mean, you even had to have an old-fashioned ticket for your plane, didn't you? There was none of this nonsense we got nowadays.
We did, and in 1991 they made the World Wide Web popular. That was open to the public, and the Chamber was one of the first to have email addresses and to use that sort of technology. But in the early days I had to take a laptop, plug it into the hotel, wiring somehow or other, and
wait for that modem noise to finish. Remember those things?
Yes.
That squealing noise you used to make. But that was technology, and that was good. But the Chamber were there right at the beginning. I think you remember saying you had one of the first email addresses.
We did, yes, and we did send an email to BBC Radio Suffolk, and I met a reporter the other day who remembered that it was the first email they'd received at BBC, and she was quite surprised that the Chamber was so technologically advanced at that time.
Okay, you concentrated all around the world for many years on trade missions, and also on looking after trade in Suffolk, because it's a huge county for exports, for business, for everything. People think of it as a sleepy county, but it's not, is it? The Chamber's got a lot of power here, a lot of influence.
Yes, there's a lot of businesses in Suffolk who export all sorts of things around the world. They don't always want publicity, because if they manufacture own brand products for people in Hong Kong or somewhere, they've got a very good business there. And I think the tallest building in Shanghai, foundations were done by a firm at Claydon. The B&Q warehouse in Shanghai, which I went to the opening of it, the concrete flooring was done by a firm in Lavenham, I think it was. And so Suffolk businesses get around. They did a lot for recruitment of medical staff in Malaysia, and so on. The list is endless. We probably took between 20 and 30 people on every trade mission, and there were something like 35 missions altogether. Probably the most strange one was going to Myanmar or Burma. 3 or 4 of us went there. The DTI man in Singapore was going to come with us, but he then had orders from head office from a civil servant, don't go to Burma. So we went on our own and found it very interesting and informative. I don't know whether much business came then.
A bit risky at the time, was it?
It was a bit risky. We were on a passenger plane flying in to Yangon, and we were the only passengers on it. All the rest of the seats were covered in freight.
Okay, let's bring you forward to the 21st century. You've got the Chamber well known, but moving into the 21st century, you had to play catch up pretty quick. I mean, you mentioned the internet, but the whole world changed in the turn of the century, didn't it?
Yes, it did, and we tried to keep up with everything. The government did try and take over chambers of commerce because they were at the heart of the business community.
You were doing it right, that's why they wanted it.
We were doing it right. They did try setting up 45 business links around the country, and in many cases they merged with or took over the Chamber of Commerce. I'm pleased to say that in spite of all their efforts, the Chamber Board gave me a rolling 12-month contract so I could fight off all the subtle things they were trying to do. and Suffolk Chamber remained independent to this day and is very successful as a result of that.
You're a bit like the James Bond of the chamber world, aren't you? International traveller, wheeler dealer. I mean, you're there with them. Okay, and you needed to make changes within as well. And I know for you, the inclusion of women in the chamber was a big success. Something that you aimed for.
Yes, we always. Well, my background, I treat everybody as an equal. They're a business person, so it doesn't matter who they are or where they come from. I'm there talking business with them. I had a lot of experience with that all over the Far East. And the same thing in Suffolk. We nurtured Suffolk business women into an organisation which is very successful today.
And still runs together and with and parallel with. And it's good because I was talking to one of the ladies. The men in the chamber gain a lot of experience from the women coming in as well. It opens different markets for them as well, isn't it? It works both ways.
It does, yes. And I had, when I was at the chamber, 2 or 3 women who were presidents of the chamber. I got on well with them, but some of the old-timers found it a little unsettling. But that was by the by. Business came first.
What other challenges do you have? Okay, there's a bit of resistance there. Well, you're going to get that every year, but nobody likes change, whatever it is. What other challenges did you face in the last, say, 20 years or so?
I think mainly it is civil servants carrying out the minister's wishes, and they'll use every device they can to do what they've been told to do, whether it's setting up international trade as a regional office rather than a county one, or the business links I've mentioned.
So it was very much like Yes Minister, and still is really, isn't it? If you watch that series on television, you laugh at it, but so many people tell me that actually happens.
When I retired, I was given a present, and I bought the entire Yes Minister and Yes Prime Minister series. Yeah. So I think that series is as true today as it was then.
Yeah, well, we do need a civil service, don't we? Because the government, I mean, especially over the last few years, the governments have changed so much. You do need a bit of stability.
You do need a civil service, but they need to recognise the needs of business rather than some government initiative or objective. So.
Saying that now, from your pioneering and the success you've done, the chambers all over the country now have got a strong power. They are listened to.
They are, yes, and they. One of the things I set up was the Bank of England panel, which still meets in Suffolk, and the results of that is a confidential briefing meeting from the Bank of England agent and local businesses. That information goes straight to the Monetary Policy Committee. So that is the sort of way that chambers can get the business views over right back into government.
Okay, so 140 years on now, the chamber is in a great position, isn't it? I mean, we are. I say, are we celebrating or commemorating? I think we're blinking well celebrating because it's in a great position, great state.
We are celebrating. I took a chamber from, say, plus or minus £200 to £1 million turnover business that was accredited with the British Chambers of Commerce, had ISO.
Can you just
and all
mention that to be accredited isn't just like joining the club, is it? It's a hard task to be accredited.
It's loads of paperwork and procedures. You have to prove that you do things properly, you've got personnel policy, you've got all that sort of thing in place. That took an awful lot of work, and I was elected as a director of the British Chambers of Commerce in London, so I was able to see it from the inside, and that helped us considerably to be one of the first accredited chambers in the UK.
Suffolk Chamber has got incredible impact on the business in Suffolk, isn't it? But there's still some people who are thinking about, what's the chamber all about? Your advice to those people who are thinking about it, they hear it from the outside, what should they be doing?
They should get involved with the chamber. You pay a membership subscription to the chamber. You will not get value unless you participate, get involved, and that sort of thing, because that's what membership is all about. The chamber members own the chamber, and they can really gain by getting involved. John Dugmore took over. He's developed all sorts of supply chain contracts and things. He's looked after everybody during COVID with Zoom meetings and so on. So the chamber has moved very well into the 21st century and is all set to carry on for many years to go.
Bob Feltwell, again, thank you so much for joining us here, and congratulations on 100. I know it's not your 140 years. It just sometimes feels a bit like it, doesn't it? The number of hours you've worked.
I'm only 80, but I'm still going towards 140.